The knock. Not just a knock, but the knock. It came at precisely 7:03. A Tuesday morning I'll never forget. 3 sharp, insistent raps that didn't just vibrate the doorframe. They rattled my very soul. I stumbled out of bed, pulling on my faded army tee and sweats, a uniform of comfort for a day I thought would be like any other. But standing on my porch, silhouetted against the rising sun, was Mrs. Delaney. Her perfect, ironclad bob didn't even sway. Her clipboard was clutched like a weapon, and that lavender-scented hand sanitizer, clipped to her lanyard, seemed to mock the sterile precision of her presence. She wasn't alone, of course. 2 other board members, looking about as thrilled as a recruit on a 20-mile hump, flanked her, clearly dragged along for moral support, or perhaps just to witness her grand performance. She didn't greet me. Not a good morning. Not even a curt nod. Instead, she slapped a neon orange envelope against my chest with a theatrical flourish. 72 hours, she declared, her voice a brittle whisper that somehow carried the weight of a drill sergeant's bellow. Vacate the premises, or the sheriff does it for you. My eyes, still adjusting to the morning light, fell to the dreaded word emblazoned on the envelope, eviction. And yes, you read that right. It was in Comic Sans. Comic Sans. The audacity. But in that moment, something shifted inside me. The initial shock gave way to an almost instinctual calm, a familiar quiet descending like ceramic plates sliding into a vest. It was the same calm that used to settle over me before a critical mission, the kind my old drill sergeant had hammered into us. Assess, react, execute. Inside that garish envelope were 3 pages of bullet point lies. Unauthorized pet, unpaid dues, subletting. None of it true, of course. All of it signed, with a flourish I could practically see. Helen Delaney, HOA president. She then pivoted on her orthopedic sneakers, a triumphant smirk already playing on her lips, probably already rehearsing her victory speech for the next board meeting. She never saw the storm she'd just invited into her meticulously manicured life. She thought she was delivering a final blow. She was actually just ringing the bell for round 1. Baseline, the subdivision, and the soldier. I bought 14. Maple Crest Lane 2 years after my last deployment. 12 years in the service, 2 combat tours, an honorable discharge, and a Purple Heart that served as a permanent reminder of battles far more serious than suburban squabbles. My patience for bureaucratic bullying? 0. The development brochure had promised quiet living, mature trees, real community feel. What it delivered in reality was 112 beige townhomes, a community pool that inexplicably closed on October 1st, and a 7-member HOA board who treated the covenants, conditions and restrictions, CC and RS, like Holy Scripture, interpreting every comma and semicolon as a divine decree. I'm a stickler for rules, always have been. My lawn, trimmed to exactly 2.5 inches, no more, no less. My Wrangler, parked perfectly within the lines, every single time. I even flew a modest 3x5 American flag from a porch bracket, regulation height, dutifully lit at dusk. By all accounts, I should have been invisible, just another homeowner blending into the beige landscape. But from day 1, Mrs. Delaney had clocked me. I was the type, she'd subtly implied, who brings property values down. Her first email, a passive-aggressive masterpiece, arrived within a week of me moving in. Consider a neutral welcome mat. Bright colors attract undue attention. I scoffed, but I also laughed. I swapped my cheerful rainbow mat for a plain cocoa fiber one. Problem solved, I thought naively. I had no idea then that Mrs. Delaney's true hobby wasn't gardening or gossiping. It was hunting. And I, a single black woman with a military past she clearly knew nothing about, was about to become the biggest game in her cul-de-sac. Spark, complaint number 1. 3 months later, my next-door neighbor's son, a bright kid I'd watched grow up, got accepted to West Point. I was genuinely thrilled for him. As a small token of pride and encouragement, I gifted him a little camo morale patch, something I'd carried on my own uniform. He hugged me a genuine, heartfelt embrace and called me Sergeant. It was a moment of pure, unadulterated joy. A moment Mrs. Delaney, with her hawk-like gaze, inevitably witnessed. Melanin plus camouflage in her twisted logic clearly equated to possible militia activity. Can you believe it? The next week, a fine arrived, $150, for unapproved outdoor gathering and suspicious activity. I paid the fine because sometimes it's just easier to cut your losses. But I wasn't going to let my name be slandered. I attended April's open board meeting, determined to clear the air. Public comment, 5 minutes max. I started calmly, explaining the situation, the West Point acceptance, the innocent gift. But as I spoke, I could see Mrs. Delaney's eyes narrowing, her grip tightening on her gavel. At precisely 4 minutes and 23 seconds, she cut my mic. Time's up, homeowner. Next agenda item. The message was crystal clear. She didn't want me there. She had the power, and she wasn't afraid to wield it. I left before I said something that would require a formal apology. Or worse, a court-martial. My mother raised me to pick battles, not collect scars. But the seed of defiance had been planted. Escalation, the inspection letter. June arrived, bringing with it a certified letter, formal and foreboding. Random exterior inspection. Fine, I thought, bring it on. I was confident. I spent an entire Saturday power washing the siding until it gleamed, repainted the mailbox post to pristine white, and even scrubbed the gutters until they sparkled. I wanted to leave no room for complaint. The inspector, a nervous-looking young man, spent precisely 7 minutes on my property, meticulously checking off boxes on his form. He left me a copy. No violations. A small victory, I allowed myself to believe. 2 days later, another envelope. This one, however, wasn't so benign. A $500 fee for excessive yard debris. My jaw practically hit the floor. Excessive yard debris? What on earth? The accompanying photographic evidence was a single, solitary maple leaf on my driveway. A single leaf. And the timestamp? 5:19 a.m., still dark outside. She hadn't just driven by. She had driven out at dawn, probably in her pajamas, armed with a camera, specifically to snap that photo. The sheer pettiness of it was astounding, but also deeply unsettling. It was no longer random. It was personal. I appealed, of course. The board predictably denied it. I paid again, because $500, as frustrating as it was still cheaper than a lawyer's retainer. But this time, I also started a new folder on my laptop, labeled ominously, Delaney Hostility. And then I backed it up to the cloud. Old habits die hard, and in the military, you learn to document everything. Every email, every passive-aggressive sticky note sheet slipped under my windshield wiper. Every fine, every interaction. It was all going into that folder. Flashpoint eviction day. Which brings us full circle to that 7:03 knock. The eviction notice, that neon orange insult, cited cumulative violations. Translation. She'd stacked 3 bogus fines high enough to pretend I was in arrears, then activated the HOA's obscure, little-known clause allowing for foreclosure after 30 days of non-payment. The neighbors, who once forwarded her gossip and whispered behind cupped hands, now sent me character affidavits, volunteering to testify on my behalf. The court date landed, serendipitously, on Veterans Day. I honestly couldn't have scripted it better. The judge, a no-nonsense type, awarded me trouble damages, $11,500, plus a permanent injunction barring her from any HOA board service for 5 years. She wrote the check with the very same lavender pen she once used to sign my bogus fines. The poetic justice of it was almost too sweet to bear. Aftermath, life on Maple Crest. The dust settled, and Maple Crest Lane began to breathe again. Our new board president, Mrs. Nguyen, a retired teacher with a no-nonsense but fair approach. The first thing she did was scrap the ridiculously photo fines and cap random inspections at a sensible twice a year. We even installed a little free library, painted red, white, and blue, right by the community pool. Kids now borrow comics, and I occasionally donate my old field manuals, much to their amusement. It felt like the community had collectively exhaled, shedding the oppressive weight of Mrs. Delaney's reign. And Mrs. Delaney herself? She still lives 3 doors down. But her house, a pristine, beige monument to her rigid rules, is now for sale. Word on the cul-de-sac is she's moving to a 55-plus community with stronger governing standards. Translation: she needs fresh targets, a new kingdom to rule. She still drives past my place, slowly, deliberately. But now, when our eyes meet, she stares straight ahead, foot heavy on the accelerator, her perfect bob a little less perfect, her shoulders a little more slumped. The queen of Maple Crest had been dethroned, and the quiet soldier had won, become part of the mission. If you believe that veterans deserve the same rights and respect at home that they fight for overseas, then you know what to do. Hit that like button and share this story. Every view tells platforms to recommend more justice-driven content, stories where integrity and the law stand up to petty power. And hey, subscribe so you never miss the next time karma puts on combat boots and delivers a righteous smackdown. Reflection: what the military really taught me. People often assume the Army trained me for war, for combat, for the front lines. And yes, it did. But what truly saved me in this suburban skirmish? It was the paperwork, the chain of command, the meticulous documentation, the cover sheets, the after-action reports. Those habits, drilled into me over a decade of service, save you in courts and cul-de-sacs alike. It wasn't just about fighting. It was about strategy, about knowing the rules of engagement, and about having an unassailable paper trail. More importantly, it taught me calm under fire. Mrs. Delaney wanted a shouting match, an emotional outburst, something she could dismiss as a difficult homeowner. But I didn't give her that. I gave her a file folder. I gave her evidence. I gave her the law. Victory rarely needs volume. It just needs evidence, patience, and the unwavering willingness to stand post when everyone else retreats. It taught me that real power isn't about yelling the loudest, but about knowing your rights, preparing meticulously, and executing with precision. Q&A I see in comments. I know you've got questions, so let's hit a few I've already seen popping up in the comments. Question: could she appeal? Hey, oh, she absolutely did. She tried, bless her heart, and she lost again. The appellate court, in a move that still makes me smile, actually quoted my service record in the footnote of their decision. For the first time, Sergeant became legal precedent on Maple Crest Lane. It was a beautiful thing. Question: would SCRA protect renters too? A, absolutely. The Servicemembers Civil Relief Act is broad in its protections. Active duty, reserve, National Guard. That federal shield travels with you, whether you own or rent. It's designed to protect all service members from civil legal actions that could distract them from their duties or financially burden them while they're serving or transitioning out. Question: did I feel bad watching her crumble? Hey, you know, for a brief, fleeting moment I did. Seeing someone's carefully constructed world fall apart isn't exactly a joyful experience. But then, I remembered that 5 a.m. leaf photo. I remembered the arbitrary fines, the racial undertones, the sheer, relentless pettiness of it all. And I remembered the stress, the sleepless nights, the feeling of being targeted in my own home. Justice isn't revenge, it's balance restored. It's ensuring that someone who abuses power faces consequences, and that those they try to harm are protected. So no, the feeling of bad quickly dissipated, replaced by a quiet satisfaction. So, the next time an HOA Karen, or anyone else for that matter, tries to measure your grass with a ruler, remember this: rules work both ways. Know your bylaws, save every single receipt, and if you've served, let that flag on your porch be a quiet reminder that you've already fought bigger battles than they can invent. Don't let anyone diminish your dignity or your rights. As for me, I'm grilling on the driveway, burgers sizzling, not violations. And that $11,500? It's funding a scholarship for that West Point-bound kid next door. He ships out next summer. I told him, keep your head down, your honor high, and always read the fine print. Because sometimes, the biggest weapons aren't found on a battlefield, but in a legal document, backed by an unyielding spirit. Stay in the fight. Stories like this only spread when viewers like you push them forward. So smash subscribe, ring that bell, and drop a comment if you've ever seen petty power get outranked by real authority. Until next time, keep your lawn tidy, your documents tidier, and never underestimate the quiet soldier next door.